Morning, everybody. Monday morning. But before we head off to the races, we need some gas in the car. And without further ado, well, the work day has ended, and I tell you what, it was a very hot and sunny day today, and that sure does drag a lot of energy out of you. So, on my way home as we speak. So I'll make my way over here to this little picnic shelter that you saw in one of my previous videos. Kind of have a little chit-chat session. Nice little picnic section. Very roomy. I love what they've done here with these picnic tables where they extend it out for wheelchair access. That is smart thinking right there. Gonna get a little serious with you, and I know I've said that from time to time in these fun-filled videos I'm gonna do that. That's okay. There's some things that I've been thinking about, and I wanted to kind of share it with you because, hey, if it can help someone out there that's watching this, if you're going through the same kind of thought process, and I can speak insight, that's awesome. And you know what? I'm constantly trying to grow myself, and I'm trying to improve myself, and if there's something you want to share with me, some insight perhaps, I'm more than willing to learn, and I'm more than willing to adapt if I'm able to, and I'm more than willing to, you know, take what you have to give me. I've got strong skin, you're not going to offend me. But the topic I have today is along the lines of how much is enough. And what I mean by that is maybe you have people in your lives, or you have had people in your lives, where it just seems as though how many times you speak insight into their lives or give them good wisdom or basically kind of help direct them in things they're going to do, choices they're going to make. How many times do you get frustrated when it feels like they're not taking your advice? Best analogy, little Johnny. He wants to go and touch that hot stove, but you keep saying, hey, Johnny, don't do that. You're going to burn yourself. But he goes and he does it anyway, and he burns his finger. You're like, Johnny, I told you not to do that. You burned your finger. I hope you learned your lesson. But then time passes, and little Johnny wants to touch the stove again. And you're like, Johnny, don't touch the stove. You're going to burn yourself. Remember what I said last time? My side of the street hasn't changed. Don't do it. But yet he goes and touches the stove again. And the record repeats, and the carousel lap goes around another time. And that's the frustrating part that I'm talking about. Is, yes, with little Johnny, he's youth. He needs people in his life that know better, that are able to coach him and instruct him and kind of repeat things a few times till he gets that. I get that. But I'm talking about older Johnny. The Johnnies that should know better and do know better, but then still decide and go and touch that stove. And I think that's where creating those healthy boundaries for yourself are very, very important. And what I mean by the healthy boundary is, yes, I can be a person who can speak insight into someone's life, especially if I myself have touched the stove personally. It means more so coming from me because, yeah, I've got a burnt finger. You may not want to touch that stove. But it comes to a point where it's kind of like you can't fight the battle for them. And you can speak insight, you can be there for them, but you can't fight their battle for them. And when you know they're going to go and touch that stove and you know they're going to burn their finger, it is frustrating because you know the inevitable. But if you fight that battle for them and continually spoon-feed them the answers, they're never going to learn for themselves, and they're never going to appreciate the lesson for it being the lesson if they're just being spoon-fed the answer. And that's a difficult portion, being someone that will speak insight into someone's life. When you're able to give them that spoonful of sugar and say, here's what it is, here's what I've gone through, well, maybe it can help you out, but then they keep going and touching that stove, it can be very frustrating. And you shouldn't have to continually spoon-feed the person. And Einstein said it best. If you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results, it's never going to happen. So for that person that's continually touching that stove and burning their hand, for you to keep spoon-feeding the answer, they're never going to learn the lesson for themselves. Eventually, and I've learned this myself through my journey, eventually I had to say to myself, listen, I'm tired of being on this carousel that I keep putting myself on. I keep doing the same thing, and I keep getting the end result. And I'm tired of it. I personally choose for myself to step off that carousel. I don't want to be on that ride anymore. And that's what can be very frustrating. Because when you see that person stuck on that carousel, no matter what you say, it may be a good effect for them, it may be a bad effect for them, it may speak to them, it may not speak to them, but again, all you can do, your only responsibility is to just love on them, be there for them, be that support, be on the bench outside their carousel. Let them ride the ride, but just be there so they know you're there. But don't hop on the ride with them. There's no reason for you to hop on the ride with them. And I guess that's where I'm kind of at right now, is just being there for people, loving on them, being that support, but giving myself permission. And you guys, if you're going through the same thing, giving yourselves permission to say, you know what, I can be there for you, but I can't ride that ride with you. And you know what? It'll be okay. It can be very frustrating, but all you can do for these people is just let them know through encouragement, let them know that you're going to be there for them. The best way to say that is, you know, even in your journey, Johnny, you're going to stumble, you're going to fall. We all do. And just so you know that I'm going to be there to be able to be that support and to help pick you up and dust you off if I can, if I'm able to, just to let them know that you're in their life in that way, says volumes. But then creating that healthy boundary and saying to Johnny, hey, Johnny, you know what? I can't fight the battle for you. You got to do that for yourself. Remember the movie The Matrix? No plug here for movies or whatever, but where he says that I can show you the door, but it's your job to walk through the door. I think that kind of applies here too. Help show them the door, but let them be the ones that walk through that door. And through time, as frustrating as it can be to be that one speaking that insight, you know, through time, they'll get it. They may have to have some carpets pulled up from underneath them to get that, to have that wake-up call, but they'll get to that point eventually where they want to step off their own carousel. Food for thought. I think that's enough serious for today, so thanks for joining me, and until next time, we're done.